You've got your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the longevity space globally. So what we can do right now, what works right now, what's essential right now, and also what's affordable, not just right now, but in the future.
We just invested in a company. They use artificial intelligence and have more than 8,000 brain tissue samples to fight neurodegenerative diseases. This is how fast computing power and artificial intelligence now in a position to help us to solve these problems. Every technology and pieces of science that we're investing in bring in 10, 20, 30 times improvement in terms of cost. The beauty of wearables is actually it helps you and your doctors to establish the feedback loop, and therefore for all of us it's a huge opportunity to change.
Welcome to New Frontiers in Functional Medicine, where we're exploring the cutting edge of what's possible in healthspan, lifespan, and the future of personalized care. If you're a clinician who's passionate about staying on top of the latest science in functional medicine, longevity, and clinical innovation, you are in the right place. Each episode, we will deep dive with thought leaders, researchers, and clinicians who are moving the needle, so you can translate emerging science into real impact for your patients. Let's get started. Thanks to our Diamond Level sponsors. Precision Analytical, creator of the Dutch test, is offering evidence-based training on key topics like hormone metabolism, interpreting Dutch test results, and therapeutic strategies, including hormone replacement therapy, all aimed at improving patient outcomes. Become a registered provider to gain access to an expansive education hub with ongoing content, including webinars and case studies. Visit dutchtest.com/courses to get started and grow your practice. Thanks to our gold level sponsors. Timeline, fueling cellular energy for a lifetime of healthy aging. Find them at timeline.com. Vibrant Wellness, transformative lab tests for wellness. Find them at vibrant-wellness.com. Hi, everybody. Welcome to New Frontiers in Functional Medicine, where we are interviewing the best minds in functional medicine. And of course, today is no exception. In this conversation, I sit down with my dear friend and colleague, Sergey Young. He's the founder of the Longevity Vision Fund, and he's a board member of the XPRIZE. He's somebody who's deeply knowledgeable in shaping the future of longevity science worldwide. This original conversation was recorded for our masterclass, but we had to leave so much juicy content out that we're bringing it back here in the podcast format so that we can play the bulk of what we talked about. You're going to hear about his vision of where the future might be headed for the next generation, some of the next generation ideas around fighting the diseases of aging, where we are with wearables, and what's happening in the arena of funding innovations in the longevity science space. So take a listen. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Sergey, it is so fabulous to be with you once again.
Thank you, Cara. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
You are, you're the founder of the Longevity Vision Fund. You are part of the XPRIZE. I mean, you've got your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the longevity space globally. I've got so many questions, but your prediction about what the future looks like, just it's something that pops into my head with some degree of regularity, and it's blank, is, what the future is going to look like for my 7-year-old. And you've got kids. Like, I'm curious. I bet you have puzzled on this, and it's not blank for you. I'm curious, what it's going to look like, when she's an adult.
Yes. Look, it's a super interesting question. I'm an investor, so I always say that I have diversified portfolio of 4 kids. Okay, and when I think about their future, what is clear is number one, it's not just going to be one life cycle. Like when we were young, and even today, like our life is split in 3 different periods, like the childhood and study, then the working life, and then retirement or the final part of life. And there's still a lot of fulfillment there as well. But these are like 3 distinctive pieces. when you talk about our kids, they're gonna have like a series of mini lives. Okay, so every 10 to 20, like the quantity of the lifespan and health span extension will result in a quality of change, like a step change of the paradigm of life cycle. So we're gonna have like a series of mini lives. You can have kids from different generation, even with different partners. You can have number of different careers and study topics. Like every 15 to 20 years, you can basically reset your life. So that I think is important to realize. I'm not saying like this is good or bad. I'm saying just evolutionary will arrive to this place. Number one. Number two, as you know, I'm not a big fan of immortality as a concept, right? I think, in fact, if you take out death from the human life cycle, I mean, we're not going to be humans. It's just a completely different scenario. But what I also know, it's not like we will have a immortality choice or the points for the future of our kids. The future model is going to be about everyone every 5 to 10 years and making decision whether they want to extend their lifespan or not. Okay, so it's like a series of life extension choices, and then the question is like, are we ready to make these choices as well, right? I'm 53 chronologically. I'm 39 biologically. I'm not sure if it's going to apply to my lifespan. So I always tend to think like everything I do, I'm doing for the future generations of human in a best possible way. But this is so clear that everyone would be in control of their own decision to extend their lifespan, and obviously, at certain point of time, the number of deaths from the age-related diseases gonna be less than 50% in terms of the total number of that. It's gonna be other reasons while we will cease to exist on this planet, but we're gonna fight these diseases as the reasons for death pretty soon in evolutionary terms.
So we spend, many of us, looking at epidemiological data in the U.S., spend the last 20 years sick, with these chronic diseases of aging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when is that going to be? When will there be a dent made in that?
Look, I think it's important to realize, and I love your question, because we've been living as a species for like million years in this world. So I like the aspiration of making the change in 10 years, but in evolutionary terms, this is still a big deal, time-wise. But I'm like a factual guy, probably because of my professional deformation of been investing in longevity. Like 90% of deaths after the age of 50 in the US, if you look at the like age-related diseases happening because of heart disease, cancer, metabolic/diabetes, and neurodegenerative diseases. So let's just revisit where we are in terms of fighting this. Heart disease, I mean, we obviously on the right track to make so many changes in this field, right? It's always like, if you're prudent enough, if you do your medical screening every year, you can influence this in a big way. So I think we're like halfway of fighting heart disease. So that's one. Cancer, we're right in the middle of winning the war against cancer. I mean, obviously start with the early diagnostic, because if you like discover the cancer, at a condition at the stage 1, the for number of cancer types, recovery rates today are anywhere between 93 and 100%. And it wasn't the case when you and I were kids. Like having cancer was like kiss of death. You know that this person will not be with us in the next few months, right? Not anymore. So I think it's extremely important to recognize. Then diabetes, metabolic, I mean, it's both complex and simple. Just the whole measurement aspect of it, the GLP-1 drug aspect, the lifestyle and dietary changes aspect. I mean, we all in a position to win this war, right? And then finally, the only piece of this deadly portfolio, which we still don't know what we don't know about, is neurodegenerative diseases. But we just invested in a company. They use artificial intelligence. It's called Verge, and they use artificial intelligence and proprietary brain tissue bank. I think they have more than 8,000 brain tissue samples to fight neurodegenerative diseases. And think about this figure. They have more than 300 programs, clinical programs, against 12 neurodegenerative diseases. This is just one company. Like 20 years ago, it will be a group of scientists working on one program against one disease with 30 years, time span. Well, this is how fast computing power and artificial intelligence now in a position to help us to solve this problem. So I'm not that optimistic for next year, but I'm super optimistic about next 5, 10, 15 years.
Well, and just to kind of leapfrog off of what you've just said, Dr. Dale Bredesen is making extraordinary inroads into addressing Alzheimer's and cognitive impairment using, straightforward diet and lifestyle. And you embrace diet and lifestyle, almost more, it's probably more than as richly, and you're as big an advocate for it than perhaps anyone else I know who's got their hands in the space of these advanced technologies to the extent that you do. I mean, you really believe in how important and how powerful it is. The other piece that we really, really, really need to talk about as well is affordability. I mean, the essence of your vision is about not just far-reaching, expensive vision. It's what we can do right now. I mean, you use the longevity bridge term all the time, and I have since incorporated. I learned it from you, and I use it. So what we can do right now, what works right now, what's essential right now, and also what's affordable, not just right now, but in the future. So all of this, your anticipation is available to everyone. So I want you to talk about what we need to be doing right now, and and then just talk a little bit about your passion with regard to making this financially reachable.
Yes, I mean, this is, as you know, it's an important part of my and ours mission for everyone in the field, right? I mean, we don't have an interest to develop something which would cost millions of dollars and will be available only to the fraction of the population. In fact, it's just a different games. And I always like when in the audience, I share my mission, which is the mission to change 1 billion lives. It's always going to be someone in the audience saying like, Sergey, we have like 8 billion people on the planet. Why only 1 billion? But that's on the funny side. I think I just want to use example of technologies that we supporting with the funding from 2 of our longevity funds, Longevity Vision Funds, that's an earlier fund, and now we are partnering with Peter Diamandis, and we started to invest in a new, bigger longevity fund called Bold Longevity. Like every technology and pieces of science that we're investing in bring in 10, 20, 30 times improvement in terms of cost. And this is exciting. Like the blood-based AI-powered cancer test is now a couple of $100. Like every quarter, you can use your blood and detect up to seven different cancer types. Well, think about this $200, and in comparison to the different surgeries and chemotherapies and all other interventions that people do when they catch the cancer in stage 3 and stage 4.
Everybody's going to want to know who that laboratory is.
Yes, I think there are a number of companies. Like, forgive me, I'm not that familiar with like the consumer side, and there's no way it's going to be available directly to consumers. So you still need to work through your through your doctor, but the number of companies that are developing this
Yeah.
this test. The company is called, Grail,
Yes.
Freenome. We invested in Freenome early on, and on and on. So I'm very excited.
Exciting.
Literally,
Yeah, for sure.
the last 3 years that I've done my medical screening in Fountain Life, the company that we founded together with Peter Diamandis, Tony Robbins, Mark Benioff from Salesforce.com. It was stool-based test. Now I think they're switching to the blood-based test. So I think it's really exciting. And then what else? I shared with you example of the company called Ligenesis using one liver to help 50 plus patients. So that's decreased from like 1 million treatment to like $20,000-$30,000 treatment. That's exciting as well. What else? In Silicon Medicine, the company which used AI to compress your drug discovery and development cycle. The first 2 years of drug discovery, they compressed in 2 months. And think about the average drug development cost today in the US is $6.2 billion at the current prices, and it takes 12 years. Think about, what is the economic impact on affordability of drugs to compress. But you know what is my favorite example? Is the one with metformin. We still don't know whether metformin works for like everyone or only for part of population, which is in a risk area diabetes-wise. But you just had a discussion with a very good friend and longevity pioneer Nir Barzilai. And together with American Federation for Aging Research, we've been working on TAME trial to test metformin as a potential repurposed longevity drug. You know what's the funniest thing? I mean, like in every trial, you need to have placebo group, which is the pill with like zero chemical substance, and you need to have like a proper metformin, the group which takes metformin. Placebo for this trial is 2 times more expensive than metformin.
Wow.
Okay. Well, metformin is an old drug. It's been in production for more than 60 years. It's relatively safe profile. Again, no medical advice. I'm telling you about this study, right? Done by scientists and and covered and tested by regulators. But in a way, isn't it funny? The actual drug, which has the potential to be approved in 5 to 10 years as longevity drugs, is 2 times less expensive than placebo. I mean, it tells you a lot.
Yeah, that's great.
Is there a gap in your health and longevity strategy? MitoQ mitoquinol is an advanced antioxidant that targets the inner mitochondrial membrane, reducing reactive oxygen species by 48%. This patented compound is backed by 30 years of research and 25 clinical trials by Harvard, Yale, and Oxford. MitoQ supports mitochondrial and cardiovascular health, metabolism, and DNA stability. Learn more at mitoq.com/Dr. Kara. That's mitoq.com/Dr. Kara.
You've likely heard about the longevity benefits of peptides. They're in skincare, supplements, they're everywhere. But not all peptides are created equal. Developed by skin longevity scientists, OS1, which is found in OneSkin topical supplements, penetrates deeper layers of the skin, impacting cellular level biomarkers for visible improvements in lines, wrinkles, and thinning skin. Ready to experience OS1's benefits? Use code Dr. Kara for 15% off your first order at oneskin.co/DRKARA.
Interventions today. Things that we are bullish on today, I want to ask you about.
In a very simple terms, my framework is very much related to yours. So diet, exercise, sleep / peace of mind. So that's for me like a sleep and the mental health aspect, meditation, sense of purpose, doing act of kindness. That's very important. So these are the 3 pieces. I always add 2. One is medical screening. In fact, like the most important day of your life every year these days is not your birthday, not anymore. It's the day of your medical screening. Like, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm an investor. I'm saving 15 to 20 lives a year just pushing people do medical screening, and it's all the same story. Sergey, you saved my life. They discovered early stage cancer. I'm fully treated, 100% recovered. I didn't even lose the quality of my life. And it's a touching point and a big piece of my work for me. And we're living in a world where the power of sensors will be, will just help us to, like, my Oura ring would tell me like 24 hours before I felt sick, because it always says, well, Sergey, you have elevated body temperature, and it starts from there. And it's just such a simple example. I'm so impressed with MRI, which can detect cancer in 99% of cases, and I can go on and on. Okay, so medical screening is super important. So that's my addition to your lifestyle driven framework. And then number 5 is, making wise choices. And it starts from your new philosophy and the mindset of taking back control for our health. We think about the world today. We delegated all our health choices to someone else. Big pharma, regulators, insurance companies, healthcare providers, big food, etc. I'm not saying, you need to do all of this, right? I'm not competent to make all of this, but you need to be part of this choice. It's almost like a director for the orchestra. You need to become a director of the orchestra of your own health. So that's a important piece, and it comes down sometimes to making very risky decisions, like tobacco smoking is minus 10 years from your lifespan. Not using the seatbelt is like minus 2 years from your life. Driving motorcycles is 17 times more mortal than driving a car. And I can go on and on. I have a friend, she lives in California. She's a brilliant mountaineer. Last 2 years, she went to 2 mountains on Earth. One is K2, the other one is Annapurna. You know what is the mortality rate for one and another? 25 and 33%. I'm originally from Russia. The Russian roulette, when you do it, it's 1 out of 6 chances to die. It's always like putting 2 bullets in a pistol and doing the Russian roulette. This is crazy. And we always think that it's going to happen with someone else. It's not with us. Like, we are smart and clever, but it's not the case. So you need to rethink your risk return choices in your life, and I think it's extremely important.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. Those are so smart. They make so much sense. Yes, our medical screening is indeed one of the most important and powerful things that we can do to buckling up. Gosh, it's so basic. I love that you have the stats there. You're a numbers guy for sure.
Yes, I am.
This is our second more than second, actually. We had an Instagram live, and then you jumped on our podcast. True. And here we are again. And I think all of these times you are wearing quite a few wearables. I think you actually wear more wearables than anyone I know. You're bullish on wearables. You invest in wearable companies.
Yes.
What is the state of this technology today? And what do you see for the future?
Great question. As you know, I'm a big fan of wearables. I'm using Oura Ring to measure my kind of sleep time and during the night, because it doesn't have a screen. It doesn't bother me during the night. I'm a big fan of Apple Watch, but actually, like any smartwatch is helpful. I'm a big fan of just measuring my physical activity. In fact, if you look at these studies, like everyone who is trying to close the circles on devices like Apple Watch will add 30 to 40% to their physical activity. Sometimes, I arrive home like 10:30 and I'm just finalizing my 10,000 steps a day until midnight. I know statistically it's actually right after 5.5, 6,000 steps. It's just the value on your longevity is incremental, but psychologically, I kind of like this 10,000 steps a day thing as well. So 2 things. On one side, and they're mutually exclusive like everything in life. On one side, I'm disappointed about the development of the wearables. From our perspective, investing in the med tech space is extremely difficult because like to approve device, to go through the enormous competitive intensities like of companies like Apple, Huawei, Samsung, Garmin. It's a big deal. Well, on the other side, there are so many things that we can do, like continuous glucose monitor, smartwatch, Whoop, different other devices. I actually, this is consumer side. On a professional side, I love what is happening in space. Like Zero Patch, you just put it here. You can even swim in a swimming pool, take shower. It just continues electrocardiogram for like 7 days. This is just crazy. I'm wearing Apollo Neuro. It's which stimulates your nervous system through little vibrational sessions and help to increase your HRV, etc. What I'm particularly excited about, I couldn't name the company, but they're now working on a microneedling technology for continuous monitoring, and they now working. Well, it's BioLink. I can probably share that in non-confidential way. They're now working on 7 different biomarkers that you can measure with one device. This is exciting, and I think they're going to be on the market next year. I think in the future, all of us will be able to like cherry pick what are the particular indicators. Usually the hormonal ones. I think it's very important, and it's more important for the female health because of the larger and more complex hormonal context for females. I love it. I think in the future you'll just go to the store, pick up this selection out of hundreds of different biomarkers that you want to measure, or this choice is going to be done by your healthcare practitioner. You put your device anywhere on your skin, and you'll have continuous monitoring of those different health indicators. And I'm very excited about this whole thing. I think philosophically, I think what is important to understand, think about our childhood. Like your measurement cycle, your feedback cycle to collect data was, any number of weeks and months between visits to doctors. Like if you visit doctor every 6 months, so that's your feedback loop. There is nothing you can change in this life if you receive feedback every 6 months. But now you can receive the feedback on the state of your health or particular area of concern every 15 minutes. You can have it even, every second if you want. And I think what it helps is to change our lifestyle, to make our choices wiser, and to give us, the biggest piece of feedback. I'm not in the risk cohort for diabetes, but like every 3 months I wear, CGM for 14 days. And you couldn't even imagine how many lifestyle and dietary choices, has been driven by CGM feedback. Like every time I look at we spend every summer in Italy, the beautiful country. But like every time I look at gelato, and I know that I'm gonna take the Italian ice cream on empty stomach, I just envision the scream of my CGM indicator, which goes through the roof, right? And I was a big fan of freshly squeezed orange juice, and apparently it was just a sugar bomb for my blood. So this is pretty relatively simple, but still important examples that the beauty of wearables is actually it helps you and your doctors to establish the feedback loop, and therefore for all of us it's a huge opportunity to change.
Right. Fabulous. So I love that vision, for where we're heading, and we'll have access to almost customized biomarker data that we want. That's such a cool vision. This company that you mentioned that's going to have, I think, 7 biomarkers available, can you mention what those are yet, or we should just be keeping our eyes out?
Unfortunately, it's such a sensitive topic, and they need to work with regulators. I don't want to overpromise and then people to be disappointed, because FDA approval is an important part of of delivery of this to the market. So I know it sounds boring. I couldn't share this now, but you'll have
we'll keep our eyes open.
Of course.
Yeah, exciting stuff to come. That's awesome. Just those of us seeking funding, any ideas where to go now for funding sources like, grants? And I want to talk to you about what's going on in the XPRIZE world now, being so intimately involved. But those of us listening will be primarily clinicians in the functional medicine space, but there will be people who are conducting research as well, and plenty of people who are just curious. What are your thoughts there?
Yes, so a few thoughts. Well, first of all, it's a very challenging environment because I mean, if you look at all the industries that you know from your own perspective, biotech has always been like the longer term payout. If we start to develop drug today, it can appear in the pharmacy in like 12 to 15 years. So obviously there is a huge sensitivity to the cost of capital, and with a high, Fed rate. Biotech suffered a lot. So we know the companies in the field, they're on the right track, but they just lost like 2/3 of the market value simply because of the sensitivity to the high interest rate. So first of all, I just need to, state that it's just not that easy how it was pre-COVID or during the COVID time. Well, that's a first thought. Well, the second thought, as always, it's just a lot of opportunities. And I'm so happy that you ask what we call, from investment perspective, non-dilutive funding. The funding when you don't need to share the piece of equities or, any economic outcome of your research and your work. And therefore, every time someone from, scientific background or technological background comes to us and say, well, do you mind to invest? We're like, of course we'll consider. But did you guys consider the non-dilutive funding, grants, etc.? And again, with the changes in the US especially, it's just became so difficult. And I have so many friends in all around the US, in the best universities. They basically had to revisit their grant program and their research program significantly. But in the end of the day, if you think about the kind of risk-return ratio, going for grants, like hiring the special person full-time or part-time, simply to work on a grant side, I think it's super important. And from my work, I'm on the board of American Federation of Aging Research. Like every year, it's called AFAR, American Federation for Aging Research. It's the largest and the oldest aging research organization. It's been in existence for more than 40 years. If you look at the volumes that we use for grants, it's just increasing every year by 5 to 10%. So we have a lot of donors to channel this grant. So reach out so far. XPRIZE is another example. And as you know, I'm on the board of XPRIZE. Yeah. I was the one who put the first money and effort to lobby the fact that we can actually have pro bono, non-commercial competition for all the technologies and scientific discoveries in the world to reverse human aging. And here we are. I think we'll launch it end of 2023. It's $101 million that the winning team, and actually it's always winning teams. It's never like, we have 600 teams from 50 plus countries registered for competition. It's not too late to register now. The message to everyone in the scientific and entrepreneurial community, go to xprize.com, learn about the XPRIZE healthspan, and it's not too late to register for this competition. And what strikes me is, out of 600 teams, we have so many brilliant ideas, and I'm pretty sure the final stage for competition is going to be by the end of 2030, and the winning team, and say winning teams, would need to reverse the age of the participants in their statistical sample, by 10 to 20 biological years in 12 months, with 75% of the effect of reduction of biological age stays in place for another 12 months. So you and I know it's not that easy. So I'm very excited about what XPRIZE can offer. It's non-dilutive funding. It's in fact, the teams which are going to be pre-selected for the next stage have at least $100,000 to continue research and participate in it. reach out to xprize.com, or you can reach out to me and I'll connect you with the XPRIZE team. So I'm very excited about what is happening today in the US and in the world in terms of supporting the brilliant minds that we have in science, we have in technology, we have in entrepreneurship, to move the needle and add 10, 15, 20 healthy and happy years to human lifespan.
That's amazing. It's just beautiful. I'm just grateful that you've joined us. Any final words, anything that that I missed asking you that you would like to add?
Yes, look, I just want to reiterate about the most important day of your life every year. Remember that, day of medical screening,
Yes.
and about becoming the director of the orchestra of your own health. I think it's very important. Otherwise, it's always a pleasure. As you know, I'm big fan and supporter of your work. I'm always using this as an example. As I showed to you, this is your protocol highlighted, always in use, and a beautiful book. I think this is extremely important, and thank you for that. Stay healthy and happy.
Thanks so much, Sergey. Thanks to our Diamond Level sponsors. Precision Analytical, creator of the Dutch test, is offering evidence-based training on key topics like hormone metabolism, interpreting Dutch test results, and therapeutic strategies, including hormone replacement therapy, all aimed at improving patient outcomes. Become a registered provider to gain access to an expansive education hub with ongoing content, including webinars and case studies. Visit dutchtest.com/courses to get started and grow your practice. Thanks to our gold level sponsors. Timeline, fueling cellular energy for a lifetime of healthy aging. Find them at timeline.com. Vibrant Wellness, transformative lab tests for wellness. Find them at vibrant-wellness.com. Disclaimer. This podcast is for informational purposes only. If you have a specific medical concern or if you have any questions, please speak with your healthcare provider.